Boom, let's talk about it. Okay. 210.12, Arc Fault Circuit Interrupter Protection, 2020 Code Edition. So, in order to talk about this code, I guess we should talk about what an arc fault is really quick. So, what an electric arc is when you have basically a gap that the voltage can jump across, that the electrons can jump across, like arc welders or like an electric arc lamp or something like that. An arc is the thing that starts fire. So what happened a lot in old houses is the wire would actually pull away from the receptacle or the lamp holder, and it would actually create a little electric arc, and the electric arc wasn't a big enough resistance to cause the overcurrent protection device to engage. Like a welder, you can plug in a welder, use it all day, there's an electric arc, it doesn't trip your circuit breaker. So this electric arc won't trip a regular circuit breaker. So through the magic of computers and measuring the voltage and the current that goes through these, they can actually figure out if there's an electric arc in there. And so in about 2005, they started requiring arc fault breakers to protect houses. And they initially had them in like bedrooms. But we've added them to a whole bunch of rooms, so we're going to go ahead and go through the list real slow, so we got it. So 210.12a, dwelling units. Arc fault interrupters are associated with dwelling units. They are for the protection of people against fire. So, they are required in kitchens, family rooms, dining rooms, living rooms, parlors, libraries, dens, bedrooms, sunrooms, recreation rooms, closets, hallways, laundry, and similar rooms. So, I guess in your mind you're like, what other rooms are there in the house? So, notable exceptions. They are not required in bathrooms, garages, storage rooms, unfinished basements, crawl spaces, attics, or outdoors. So, anywhere a person could basically like lay down and take a nap on a regular basis, which I guess includes kitchens now, you're going to require one of these arc fault circuit breakers. And this is a confusing code section because it says you can give it arc fault protection by any one of these means, 1 through 6. And it gives you 6 means of protecting it from arc fault. And so one is the most common, and by far like 98% of all arc fault protection that's installed in like new builds is done this way: arc fault combination breaker. So it's an arc fault breaker, it's an arc fault interrupter, and it's a overcurrent protection circuit breaker. And it's a single device. It has a little white wire. We've seen them. We know what they do. That will protect the entire circuit and does not have a length limit. It's the easiest way to do this thing. You can also use a feeder type arc fault circuit interrupter with an arc fault interrupter in the first box of the circuit. Okay, it looks like a GFCI receptacle, but it's actually an arc fault circuit interrupter. So that combination is acceptable. It also goes 3, 4, 5, and 6, which are, I think, so obscure as to not particularly matter. They are supplemental arc fault interrupter protection that has an arc fault interrupter at the first box with a maximum of 50 feet, and you have to mark the first box as AFCI. I've never seen it. I don't expect to ever see it. Number 4, branch circuit type circuit interrupter. This is actually an interesting little code section, so let's go through it. So you can have a branch circuit type circuit interrupter. So that's an arc fault circuit interrupter that's not an overcurrent protection device, and in combination with a circuit type overcurrent protection device. So like if you had a breaker and an arc fault circuit interrupter in combination listed together, then that would be acceptable as long as there was a maximum distance of 50 foot to the first box if it's 12 gauge, or 70 foot if it's 14 gauge. And I don't exactly know where they got those footages from, and I don't know why it makes sense. But what does make sense, what is the clear intent of the code writers is these branch circuits require 2 things. They require an overcurrent protection device, and they require an arc fault circuit interrupter. And the easiest way to do that by far is with one of these combination arc fault circuit breakers. So, but if you are doing an upgrade to an old house with like a very old Zinsco panel, or like, God forbid, a fuse box, it is possible to install a combination of overcurrent protection devices and arc fault circuit breakers. And arc fault circuit interrupters that will meet code requirement. You could do that. It's possible. But by far, like where people get jammed up in this code, where inspectors jam you up in this code, specifically if they're going by the newest code, and it depends on your jurisdiction which code they're following, and it also depends on your jurisdiction whether or not they decide that every particular room needs an arc fault circuit interrupter, because the code is not adopted as a whole, it is adopted as like a guide, and any individual jurisdiction can require or not require any individual one of these. But I would say that in general, every one of these is going to be required, and where the inspector is going to jam you up is he's going to go to this list and it's going to be like, okay, let's see the arc fault circuit interrupter for your kitchen and your library and your den and your hallway and your closet. And if you don't have them, he will make you change those out to arc fault circuit interrupters. So another thing that's going to jam you up is that some things produce an electrical arc as part of their regular operation. Think welders, and also think old vacuum cleaners, and also what do they call those? Surge protectors. Surge protectors are good at this. So because they can produce an electrical arc, they will trip the arc fault circuit interrupter, but that's not a bad thing. It means you should not throw away your arc fault circuit interrupter, you should throw away your vacuum. Because newer vacuums are designed to function with these arc fault circuit interrupters, and they don't create electric arcs. So that was your code for today.